Successful managers constantly evaluate and seek ways to improve the use of their resources. Managers must keep abreast of changing demands in the marketplace and changing methods of production to make sound management decisions relative to the long-range goals of the organization. Changes in goals or in methods of production will of necessity affect the organizational structure, which in turn will modify methods of leadership, coordination, and motivation. Once the new structure is developed in response to the new objectives, the process starts over again. Management is a never-ending process. It is a logical process that good managers understand and continue to perfect. Poor managers either fail to understand the process or fail to practice one or more of the parts that make up good management. I'm Dr. DeBusk, and this video will focus on determining goals, developing a plan, and organization as it applies to management in a nursery. There are many definitions of management, but the best is management is bringing together of people, money, and materials in a framework of time for an economic or sociological purpose. Simply stated, management brings together the three primary factors of production to efficiently bring about something of value. How do managers manage? What are their primary responsibilities? Naturally, a manager is a person and is subject to all the past, present, and future forces that have molded and are continuing to mold that person. As a result, no two managers are exactly alike, and no two managers can be expected to manage exactly alike. Each will be different as a result of his or her individual personality, training, talent, and past experiences. But each manager by definition will begin with a purpose, the factors of production, and time. How a manager uses the factors of production and time determines how successful he or she will be in accomplishing the established objectives. Although the management process can be divided into and discussed as 6 component parts: setting goals, planning, organizing and staffing, directing, controlling and coordinating, motivating and evaluating and rewarding, it is a unified process with each part dependent on all others. These 6 responsibilities apply to all levels of management from crew leader to president. How they apply depends on the purpose or objective of the organization and the level of management. They are fully applicable in the management of nurseries. The goal of all for-profit nurseries is to make a profit, and for all not-for-profit nurseries is to stay within the bounds of their current financial budget. The goals of various departments or divisions within the business are known by various names within a nursery. In the production department, it is the production goal. In marketing, it is the sales objectives. In propagation, it is the percent rooting or take in grafting. And to the average laborer, it is to carry out the assigned tasks. To the owner or the stockholder, it is profit. In each situation, the goal should be clearly understood. We will look at individual objectives in detail under organization and staffing. The mission statement makes it possible to clearly develop goals and objectives that will meet the needs of each group of clients. The most important achievement of a good mission statement is to help make the nursery a customer service-oriented business rather than a production-oriented business, which, after it has a product or service, begins to look for a customer. The overall mission of a nursery business should be clearly established and stated in such a manner that it gives direction to all units of the organization. Every nursery, like all businesses, organizations, clubs, and so forth, should develop and publish a clear mission statement. Mission statements establish who the clients are and what the needs of those clients are, as well as what products and services the nursery is going to provide to meet the needs of each group of clients. An example of a mission statement of a wholesale production nursery might be as follows. The mission of XYZ Wholesale Nursery is to meet the woody landscape plant needs of mass merchandising retail stores, garden centers, and landscape contractors in the states of Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina. Each of these groups of clients will have specific landscape plant needs and specific service needs, which include labeling, size of plant, dates of delivery, and packaging. Specific programs and goals will be established to propagate, produce, and market appropriate quality plant material certified to be free of insects and diseases. This is quite wordy and a bit boring, but it certainly tells the customer everything. To arrive at overall objectives, management must give consideration of 4 integral questions. 1. Who needs the product or service? 2. What products or services are needed and when are they needed? 3. At what price and quantity? And 4. Does the organization have the interests, resources, and ability to provide the products or services? For example, assume that a person or firm is thinking of producing shade trees. They may have heard that there is a shortage of shade trees and they have some idle land from which they would like to derive an income. Assume that the land will produce the trees and that water is available. Now a series of questions must be asked to define the objective. What is the nature of the target market? Is it homeowners in local area or garden centers in limited geographic area or other nurseries in local or national market area? Or is the target market some combination of these? If the market comprises homeowners or garden centers, the demand may be for small trees that can be transported in the family car. If it is landscape contractors, the demand will be primarily for large trees processed with a ball of earth. If it is other nurseries or a combination of markets, the demand may be for a combination of sizes. Following the market study, it is necessary to formulate and state the company objective in such a manner that it will give direction to the production and marketing effort needed to accomplish the objective. For example, Objective A, to produce 1.5 to 2 inch caliber shade trees hardy in climatic zones 8B to 10A for the garden center market, the objective limits size, geographic area, and type of market. It does not limit cultivar selection. Objective B, to produce large specimen trees for landscape projects. This objective sets the course for a long time investment in trees of large diameter requiring powerful equipment for handling. It limits customers primarily to landscape contractors. Either objective sets the direction for the production and marketing effort. In Objective A, the production effort will be towards producing small shade trees as quickly and economically as possible. This will result in rotations of relatively short duration, relatively close spacing of trees in the nursery blocks, and a need to use practices and equipment that will meet the objective. The intended market, as identified in the merchandising program, can be directed to reach the garden center market. The cash turnover is rapid owing to the short rotations, which is an advantage when interest rates are high. In Objective B, the production effort will be directed to producing large specimen trees, which will require wide spacing and long rotations, and the need to develop techniques that will effectively produce high-quality trees for immediate effect in the landscape. It will require powerful equipment to move the large, heavy material. The marketing effort will be concentrated on contacting sources that have a need for large, well-developed trees, primarily landscape architects, landscape contractors, city parks, apartments, golf courses, and so on. However, the cash turnover is delayed by a number of years, which is a disadvantage when interest rates are high. Planning is for the future, but it's based on a thorough review of your past history. It should be a logical process of selecting the best course of action from a number of alternatives. When planning, a good manager consults with both outside and internal advisors. He or she will try to clearly define the problem to be solved and state the objective to be obtained. The manager then encourages input from the appropriate staff and employees. No one knows the job better than the people doing it, and they should be involved in making decisions concerning that job. Team management and partnering management styles can be very effective in both increasing the range of input and in developing a commitment to carry out decisions once they are made. Upon an analysis of the situation with the best possible information available, the manager must make a final decision and communicate it to everyone in the organization. Decisions are one of the management's responsibilities. A manager should not assign major decisions to a subordinate. The organization of a nursery business tends to be considered under the following 3 categories: the organization of the physical facilities, the functional organization, and the legal organization. Organization of the physical facilities has to do with the physical relationship of the production and administrative units, one to the other, and to the layout of propagation units, production fields, and shipping area for maximum efficiency. Organization for function relates to developing the organization to maximize efficient use of people's talents and their support systems, machines, facilities, supplies, and so on, to accomplish the various functions. A functional organization plan should reflect both the tasks that must be accomplished and the growing talents and abilities of the staff. The legal form of organization is another consideration for organizing the nursery business. The three commonly used legal forms of organization are the proprietorship, the partnership, and the corporation. Each form has advantages and disadvantages, which should be evaluated prior to legally constituting the business and periodically during the life of the organization. The nursery business is continuing to develop and use more complex equipment and technology, such as integrated pest management, requiring employees with a greater technical knowledge and training. Nursery workers are currently carrying out a wide range of tasks. No one individual is proficient in doing all of them. In this setting, a team leadership concept is becoming more common. The team leader changes often and is a person that is most efficient at doing the task at hand. For instance, the team has the task of harvesting a block of large trees for shipment. Employee A is an arborist and leads the pruning effort. Employee B is an expert at operating the tree spade and will lead the digging effort. Employee C has demonstrated exceptional skill at loading and tying down the trees for transport and will lead that part of the operation. One of the greatest benefits of team leadership is the development of a more highly motivated group of employees who take greater responsibility. They bring more of their talent and experience to the tasks of increasing productivity and innovation. Labor is frequently the greatest expense in a nursery, and some nursery managers track productivity on a per-person basis. The involvement of employees in developing and evaluating methods and equipment with the goal of increasing per-person productivity is documented with per-person productivity data. When employees are encouraged to become directly involved in improving productivity, profit sharing has a greater chance of being a productive motivational tool. Not all employees will be comfortable with team management systems and may find a lateral move within the organization in which they can be more comfortable. This can be a highly effective management style with a proficient group of employees. The line organization has been used for centuries in the functional development of organizations. It is the most common structural form found in most small to medium-sized nurseries. When tailored to fit the needs of the nursery manager, it can be quite functional. This figure illustrates the chain of responsibility for three basic functional areas. Because propagation is a specialized area, it is headed by a skilled propagator who has a responsibility of propagating the materials needed for full production and the implied responsibility of keeping posted on new methods of propagation related to the types of plants being produced by the nursery. The nursery superintendent has the largest division and is charged with the responsibility of meeting the production goals. This division is organized into three subsections and staffed accordingly. The sales division is responsible for marketing the products produced. As an organization grows in size, its functional units increase, but the ultimate size of each unit is determined by the range of responsibilities of the individual leader, crew leader, or superintendent in charge. At some point, the business may become too large for the manager to control effectively without assistance. He or she then gradually obtains a staff and the business is reorganized. Line and staff organization is designed to accomplish this objective. The various staff people aid the manager in developing plans and coordinating the activities of various functional units. In some situations, it is desirable to add various service units that provide a service function, for example, mechanical maintenance, to the overall organization. Sometimes the organization becomes too large for one person to maintain responsibility for the functional units, at which time the manager delegates to staff certain specific aspects of overall authority. When this is done, the business becomes an executive organization, which the manager is known as president or CEO, chief executive officer, and is assisted by a group of executive vice presidents to have authority over functional units and their specific areas of responsibility. Three commonly used legal forms of organization are the proprietorship, the partnership, and the corporation. Sole proprietorship is easiest to form. Anyone who can acquire the land and wants to start a nursery can do so, as long as he or she complies with state and local laws relating to zoning and taxation. In proprietorship, responsibility is centered on one individual. There is no sharing of profits, and the proprietor does not pay taxes on profit. But the capabilities and limitations of the owner limits the business, and the business usually terminates upon the owner's death. This is a serious weakness of the proprietorship form of business. Many small nurseries have failed to continue following the death of the owner because no provision was made for continuation of the business. The owner of a sole proprietor business is liable for all business debts and current judgments against the business. The owner's personal assets, home, savings, car, and so forth are at risk if the business fails. The partnership is an agreement between two or more parties. Partnerships have the same tax treatment as a sole proprietorship. It is easy to form, but should the need arise, it may be difficult to divest an undesirable partner or to market a share of a partnership. Partnerships in which the abilities of each partner complement one another generally are more successful than those in which they duplicate the other. In the nursery industry, one person may be an excellent production worker and the other a salesperson. Or one person may be excellent in landscape design and construction, whereas the other is an excellent garden center manager. Problems sometimes develop when both partners are growers and neither is good at administration or sales. The owners of a partnership share the same liability to pay debts and judgments against the business as does the single owner of a sole proprietorship. The major weakness in the partnership form of business relates to resolving problems that arise between partners. It can be a very precarious legal form of business and should be constituted with considerable forethought. It is well to have the articles of agreement developed by a lawyer following careful consideration by all parties. It is possible to develop limited partnerships and open-ended agreement contracts. The limited partnership allows some partners to limit their liability, while at least one partner remains fully liable for debts of the business. An open-ended partnership agreement allows for taking in new partners and for the death, retirement, or resignation of partners. The corporation is another legal form of business, designed to provide for the continuity of a business and to limit the liability of a stockholder. You typically cannot lose more money paying debts or as the result of judgments against the business than you have invested in the corporation. Many nurseries that start as proprietorships convert to a corporate form as they grow and develop in size. A charter that must be obtained from the state in which the business incorporated limits the corporation. Also, the business must be managed by a board of directors holding annual meetings of stockholders and filling an annual report, generally with the Secretary of State in the state of incorporation. Corporations may have double taxation, both a corporate tax and a personal income tax. In conclusion, hopefully you learned about developing goals, planning, and the types of organization in the nursery business. The next video will cover the management of the people involved in the business.